Hi, I'm Richard. I'm a compulsive overeater. Morning. My absence is 3 weighed and measured meals a day off the gray sheet. Write my food down and commit my food to my sponsor. I weigh and measure without exception. I don't eat no matter what. And as a result of these actions and the grace of God, I've been abstinent from compulsive overeating since February 15th of 1990. Abstinence is the most important practice that I do in my life. And I call it a practice because it's independent of whether it's my friends or God or whatever. It's abstinence. It's a practice. It's like brushing my teeth. It didn't come easily. It took me a long time. The reason I needed it is because I'm a selfish, self-centered little brat. And that was not clear for decades after I was abstinent. And I'm just grateful to be able to come here and tell you that the miracles continue. They don't ever seem to end. But I have to be abstinent to receive those. So my experience at retreats is that they are important to my abstinence. Every time I have gone to a retreat, there has been a miracle for me. And as I say, and I saw this at the first retreat I went to in Chicago in 1997, miracles are commonplace, and you make lifelong friends in 15 minutes. I hope we take a moment, whether you're traveling back or maybe some quiet time afterward before you do re-entry, to try to think about what has happened and look for those miracles. Think of your friends. When I listen on the phone meetings, I don't necessarily talk. But when I hear the people's voices that I've met at these retreats, it takes me back to those retreats. And I want to have as tight a connection with my friends, my fellow compulsive overeaters, as that's strong enough so that if the food ever says, yeah, boy, it looks like a really good idea to eat today, doesn't it? You know, eating this stuff, this gray sheet crap, I've had it with this stuff. Or better yet, that doubt. You know, I bet you probably, just this time, probably I could just have just this. You know, it's just so freaking difficult today. Why do I have to do this? What's wrong? You know, these nuts. This is totally, completely compulsive, obsessive to worry about this. How anal can you get, Richard? Not only that, I've done this for a long time. I can do this once. There's that threadbare idea that somehow, I'm going to handle it like other people. And, when that happens, I want to remember, I got friends. Maybe I ought to think about this. I want to have something else to pull me the other way. Because as a compulsive overeater, eating will seem like a good idea one day, and I want to be prepared for that. I want to have as many reasons as possible because I don't need to particularly go to food hell again. Thank you. I sat down yesterday, and the theme here is don't quit before the miracle. And I sat down and wrote out what I thought a miracle might be for me. A miracle for me is an outcome or event which resolves a situation in my life for which my power was insufficient to resolve unless I took actions which I could not imagine taking. Or the resolution required resources beyond those available to me alone. Typically, miracles which I know about are events which I can link to some change in my attitude, belief, or motive, which is in me privately, secretly, which on itself cannot bring about the resolution of a problem of which I am aware of or not. The outcome is unlooked for welcomed and beyond my power to affect or control or cause. And it's just damn scary when those happen. Because I realize there's a power that's looking out after my ass. I wish I could spend 2 hours telling you about those miracles, but I'm telling you, they happened to me. So the first one that I had is, now I'm going to tell a little bit why I'm a compulsive overeater. So, like all of us, I knew that I should change what I eat, and I could see my weight going up. It wasn't as bad for me. I was lucky. I've got this metabolism that just burns up calories sitting around. I'm an ectomorph. Endomorphs, it's tougher. It's tougher to lose weight. It's pretty easy. But I was still able to get up to about 215, and it's about 70 pounds more than I weigh now. And when I look back over any considerable period of time, the weight was always greater. It was never less. And for me, a considerable period of time was 2 years, because it could go up and down, and I could control it for a while, and then something in my life would change, and all of a sudden I'd be eating, putting it back on, and at some point I turned to food for comfort in a big, big way. And I spent enough money to buy a house, probably at restaurants, and anyway, that was the lifestyle. I didn't have any really, I hear more extreme cases and stuff, but I'm still a compulsive overeater, because once I was eating, either the food had to run out, or I had the money, or something outside of me had to change. It wasn't like I knew it was a good idea to stop, and so I stopped. I knew it was a good idea that I, maybe didn't eat what I thought I was, or eat what I was eating, or maybe I shouldn't eat as much. I knew that, but that didn't matter, because I didn't have the power to act on that knowledge. Self-knowledge didn't do me any good at all. But I got in 12 steps in Al-Anon because a woman I was married to was an alcoholic and insisted I go to Al-Anon if she was going to go to AA, so I complied. And I got to know the big book and things. And my routine was to go down to Barton Springs in Austin, Texas, the spiritual center of Austin, and go swimming, Barton Springs pool. But first I'd stop off at a place and eat coffee and drink coffee and eat things that we don't eat now. Then I'd go down and I'd swim for an hour and a half, trying to lose weight, and I'd haul out. I like that image. Onto the haul out of the pool, and I'd sun myself and enjoy the sights. And then I'd shower and I'd walk back, and there was a snack stand between me and the car. And the dialogue would start. Well, boy, it's been a rough day. It's been a rough week. You deserve this. This wouldn't really be the best thing for you. Perhaps you shouldn't have it today. Whatever the dialogue was, I didn't know how that decision, what was going to come out. Some days I walked by, and some days I didn't. It was just seemed so good. But on one particular day, I was reading the big book, this book right here I have on the podium. And I started chapter 5, how it works, page 58. We all know it. And you go on, and it has a part where it says, when we take such a position, I even have a bookmark for it. We sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things happened. We had a new employer being all-powerfully provided what we needed if we kept close to him, performed his work well. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. You hear the miracles there? This isn't me. More and more became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt a new power flow in, we enjoyed peace of mind, We discovered we could face life successfully. We became... Whoa! Didn't expect that. These things have happened to me. Whoa. As we became conscious of His presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and the hereafter. We were reborn. We were now at step 3, and at that point, I was on my third step in Al-Anon, and I got it. I thought I was going to have to do something for step 3, and I realized that all I had to do was to believe that I'd taken it. But then I had to act like it, and I had to trust that God had my back. And it was very electrifying. You know, I was laying there in the sun. It was a nice warm day. The sun was bright. Had my eyes closed. Hey, maybe it was a white light experience like Bill Wilson. I don't know. But I know it was real. The lifeguard sitting about 20 feet away from me turned to me on this particular day and said, "I noticed you're reading that book." I said, "I have one just like it." God always puts these little links just in case I don't quite get it, you know. By the way, Richard, remember, I'm here. So I left that day and I walked right past that snack stand like I usually did. And I thought, wow, this third step, I should try this. You know, let's see how this works. I'm going to test it. And so I walked up there and I thought, oh, I'll just see what I feel like when I get there. I'll just let God do it. And I walked by there, and I was barely an arm's length away, and nothing changed. I fully intended to get that snack, and nothing changed until I got about an arm's length away, and suddenly the desire for that left. It vanished. It was completely gone. And I walked by, and I felt like I kind of floated by, you know. I walked by and thought, wow, this stuff works. It's amazing. It was over it was 6 months later before, or at least was it 6 months? Yeah, it was months later before I realized that was about food. That to me was just about the third step and God's power. That was I count that as my first miracle in this program. As a result of that step, I had my insanity about food was revealed, and I found myself, going the same thing, eating the same places, but suddenly aware of the dialogue in my head about this. It was I'd been having right along, but suddenly it was there. It was evident. And as a direct result of that, I was able to make better decisions about food. And I lost 20 pounds just from that. But I would still find myself approaching the TV with a bag of something X in my hand and eating it one at a time, because this was going to be the last one. It's amazing how many, if you numbered all the things in a bag like that, they'd always say the last one to be one, and then after that, they're all going to say the last one. It's like 1, and then 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. Yeah, once I start, the thing that kept me from finishing the bags, because I didn't have to admit I'd eaten the whole bag. Besides, it belonged to my wife anyway. I was one of these people that was going to, like the smokers that say they're stopped smoking, but they really just stopped buying. Okay, so I didn't buy it, right? But no one's done that? Okay. Okay. How am I doing on time? It feels like it's been 5 minutes. It's probably been 20.
It has been close to 15.
Excellent. Okay, there's a chance I'll get through half of this. Such a privilege to talk about this. But I still ended up eating those bags of X in front of the TV. And I was powerless. That was step 1 for me. I would never eat it all because I didn't want to say I ate it all. So I would leave 1 ounce maybe out of a 1 pound bag. So for some reason I knew that some of the members of my Al-Anon group were in OA, as it was called in those days. And, I'd see they'd get happy and they'd lose weight and their eyes would light up and they're very attractive. I loved it. And, my way was kind of like the elephant in my pocket, and I thought nobody could see it, but it was all over me. And as a result of this third step experience, on January 2nd, I walked in. First of all, I asked around where people were going to meetings, and they kept directing me to this one Grey Sheet meeting, the old Corey meeting in Austin, and I went there. And I stood up and got a sponsor and started the deal. And I wanted to be perfect, so fear kept me abstinent for a while. So that's sort of that's kind of like how I got abstinent. It's pretty remarkable. And the journey begins. Where was I? I had an outline here. I've had a lot of spiritual experiences, and I could spend a day talking about each one of those. But I'll just say that God He's never asked me to go anywhere that I couldn't do abstinently. I probably won't ever. I always said, you can't weigh and measure in space. If I ever have to go on a space shuttle, we'll have to do something different. Too late, they parked it for the last time. That excuse didn't work anymore. The thing I did is I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to do it right, and I'm grateful for that. I basically jumped in the pool before I knew what the temperature of the water was. And, there are days it's like, I don't want to be in this pool anymore. Let me out. But that's what it takes to do this. Abandon. I take the action of doing the jump, but once I reach the zenith of the arc into the pool, it's out of my control. I have to surrender my food. The way it works for me, I write my food down, I commit my food to my sponsor, and my sponsor decides whether or not it's what we've arranged. I don't make any independent food decisions. I cannot make good decisions with my food. I can justify it. Man, I can make it sound so good. I can make these little short-term decisions, and I can convince anybody in this room that it's the right thing to do. But if I do that long enough, eventually it doesn't get me what I want. It doesn't get me abstinent. I don't lose weight. My life is less and less manageable. So I don't make any decisions about that. That's the fundamental aspect for me of this disease. But there's more. I came here because I was I have this because I'm selfish and self-centered. And I'm going to read something. I hope it isn't too boring, but this is my inconvenient truth. I posted this on the GreyNet January 7th, 2013, after nearly 23 years of abstinence. I had a huge bottom, because I realized in my 10-step inventory that I was acting as if the world was not a safe place. And this is what came out. I'm not well, I'm not okay, my mind is truly ill. I am convinced that this is true and that this belief is based on my irrational reactions to life's persistent problems. Given these facts, I should be under direct supervision because I'm driven by a desire to find or create evidence that I'm okay and that I'm not a danger or harmful to mankind by my very existence. My emotions are not adaptive toward harmonious coexistence with other beings of my type, humans. Though there are days I'm sure that was a mistake. When I fail to find or create evidence that I'm okay, I behave erratically in rage, despair, self-destruction, and endanger the safety of myself and others around me. In short, I behave badly. This view that I am harmful to humanity is very childish, immature, irrational, illogical, grandiose, and self-centered in the extreme, but it is a conviction which I carry below rationality And I am beyond help with this. I come to this view from a conclusion based on self-observation as discovered through years of written inventory, which is the best model. And this is the best model of my behavior and emotions which I have ever come up with. I'm powerless over this problem. The best that I can do on my own attempts are to calm the emotions and the deep obsession through distractions and the pursuit of ease and comfort. Eating was my primary tool for this until February 15th of 1990. Since then, the practice of GreySheet abstinence has saved me from truly self-destructive and bad behavior and self-defeating emotional binges on thousands of occasions. And that is not an exception. That's not an exaggeration. It is only through daily practice that I even have a slight hope of a life which is not constantly obsessed with the compulsion to prove that I'm okay, right, the best, useful, and the list goes on. But it always leads to still greater delusion, depression, despair, and despondency. In short, the pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization that the big book speaks of on page 30. For most of my life, I've eaten to try to calm this obsession, and it works slightly. And because eating does temporarily distract and comfort me from the pain, the obsession then becomes about food and its ease and comfort. I'm trapped. There's no return for me. The latch is locked. My deepest obsession has annexed the territory of eating, and by this fact alone, I am powerless over food, and my life is unmanageable. If all else has changed, this condition as a compulsive overeater is chronic, and I do not want to attempt to fix it because that again is the obsession. I don't want to be a normal eater. This program gives me a way to live. What the hell would I do? It didn't work all of a sudden. For me, the daily treatment of weighing and measuring my food is sufficient, for it gives me a basis of living which I have not achieved any other way. Understanding all of this helps me only if I'm convinced to continue the action of better living, as guided by the program of recovery set out in the big book. Without the steps, there's no progress towards better living for me. I do not like suffering, especially when it's self-created. I'll take a break here and just say that page 62 of the big book is selfishness, self-centeredness. That we believe is the root of our troubles. We step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate seemingly without provocation. If I look back, I find that I've made a decision based on self. Me, something I want, which has placed me in a position to be harmed. I hate suffering, especially when it's self-created. There's why I do it, and I'm powerless over that. But that's what I'm trying to escape from, because in those situations, when I am self-centered like that and my actions are based on those motives, I create situations for which I have no solution, and I want out. I just want one thing. I don't want to have to face it. And food was my tool, my escape. It comforts me, first of all, and then I can be upset about how stupid I am that I ate it again, and I can be distracted about that, and then I don't worry about this other stuff. You see how slimy it is? Whoa. I need the spiritual tools. Nothing else works. I could list the other methods which I've tried here, but it would only serve to separate me from my fellow compulsive overeaters. It's easy to identify with things that people have, and that's great. We need to believe that this works for each other and understand that we're not alone, that we're not fatally flawed. We're just people. Just people. We're just compulsive overeaters. I love every one of you because I need to identify with the problem, not with only the solution. It doesn't matter whether you weigh or whether you cup, whether you flex or whether you're a rigid stick in the mud like me. It doesn't matter. You're a compulsive overeater. Bless those people out in the regular OA rooms. God help them out there trying to find that abstinence. I'd be out there with them if it weren't for Grey Sheet. I love those people. They're compulsive overeaters. I need them. They understand that. God help them. I'm here if they need me. And not that I'm God, but Grey Sheet is here. But I need you because I cannot do this by myself. And I cannot do it if I'm not absent from compulsive overeating. I cannot imagine taking the steps or adopting the attitudes required to do the other 11 steps. It says so in the 8, 12, and 12 on page 20. I believe it. My motives to enlarge my spiritual life are not so earnest, and my actions to do so are not so effective as when I'm experiencing the gift and benefits of abstinence. I can't do those very well if I'm not abstinent. Why not? Surely you know that, right? I write this only on the chance to offer hope to others who suffer from compulsive overeatings, that there is hope for recovery and return to sanity, not only where food is concerned, but emotional sobriety, the thing I neglected for 23 years, basically, and better living. Many days I behave well. Page turner? Get your act together. I behave well and I maintain a thin disguise that I'm only weird, not severely ill. Watch it. Watch it now. And life is better. I have been given a new attitude towards food, but there's still more work to be done. It can only happen so long as I continue the daily treatment of my chronic condition by the practice of Grey Sheet abstinence. Don't eat no matter what. And I want to tell you about some of the 10-step miracles. Okay. Last night we had heard Amy say, hey, it ain't going to happen in 5 years. And I'm telling you, it took me over 20 for some of this stuff to happen. I have a commitment to abstinence like a sniper. Okay? What Grey Sheet has given me is an excellent target. It's given me a bullseye to hit every day. I don't have to choose what my abstinence is, and I do not, then that takes away, and I don't make the decisions. And so I can't decide that what I hit today was my abstinence. I aim at the target. I just don't go down to the range and fire off a few rounds. Oh, look, I hit that. That's what I was shooting at. Not like that. It doesn't work. I have to do this with intention. I have to mean it. I have to manage the logistics. I have to do the planning. I have to manage the logistics. That's something other normal people don't have to do. If they're hungry, sometimes they don't eat. Okay? I've learned that if I'm hungry, I don't have to eat. Wow. I'm not going to die. It may not be comfortable, but I can be uncomfortable. I can live through it. And then, the logistics are a big part of this program. That sets us off from Alcoholics Anonymous in a big, 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 big way. I am familiar with the taste of food. I eat it 3 times a day. Alcoholics, after they get dry enough, they may have forgotten what alcohol tastes like. Maybe the euphoric recall will still be there. But they haven't had the experience. We eat 3 times a day. Okay, the logistics are important because I need to make it easy for me to be abstinent. I don't want to, because I can have so much surrender in me. If it's difficult for me to be abstinent, I don't want to face that time. Oh, God, surrender 800, I can handle that. 801, no way, screw you, I can't do this. I don't want that to happen. So I try to manage the logistics so, the surrenders are in the range of 8 or 10 a day, maybe. Don't neglect those. Think that through. All right. So probably if you've been absent for a few months, you've noticed that sometimes the vegetables start tasting really good. Things that you thought taste like sawdust. I'm particular. I mean, I have one in particular, and I'll tell you later, but, our bodies change. We get that sugar out of it. Food tastes different. I can eat food, I can eat fruit that people, I've asked people, we eat now the same batch, and I'm saying, it seems a little tart. What's that taste like to you? And it's like, I can't eat this, and it goes on and on. So I don't have to be attached to what I eat because the food gets better and better. The 10-step miracles are on page 83. And this happens after a long time, but it starts on day 1. The 10th step has 3 paragraphs. The first one is instructions, tells us to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. And then it says, we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even food or eating, for by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in food or eating. If tempted, we will recoil from a hot flame. When I walk down the bakery aisle in the grocery store, I cringe. The thought of that just, it's repulsive. I used to live with that. I used to live for that sensation and the euphoria that follows. All right, give me 2 minutes. We react sanely and normally. We will find that this has happened automatically. I can make really good decisions about what I eat if I'm eating GreySheet. It's important for you to enjoy your food. It's also, I think, important to have normal weight. I see a lot of people who get attached to a particular thing on the GreySheet, and they can't let go of it. And either the sponsor doesn't have the backbone, or they don't have the surrender to say, hey, what do I do with this? I sponsor a guy that's bigger than I am, works in a railroad. Okay? He can't lose weight on weight loss. I cut his protein back. Because he came here to lose the weight. If he stays around and weighs and measures the food, his escape route will be cut off and he will have to learn how to live. That is the miracle. That is the promise. Is that through weighing and measuring my food, I experience life. We'll see that a new attitude toward food has been given to us without a thought or effort. It just comes. That's the miracle of it. We're not fighting nor avoiding temptation. We feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem's been removed. It does not exist for us. So long as I weigh and measure my food on a GreySheet, I get to go out there and experience living, and I get to recover my life. Thank you very much.